We do have somebody that's wanted to speak to this. This is Ms. Marks with the Coalition for Good Government. I'm not sure how to, if you want to unmute yourself, Ms. Marks, you can.
Okay, can you
There
hear
you
me?
go. We can.
All right, great. Thank you so much, Chairman Blackmon and committee members. I'll be very brief here. Coalition for Good Governance, and I'm the executive director, is a small nonprofit, nonpartisan organization, and we are focused on election security and transparency of elections, as well as voter privacy. We have been out in the field in real polling places, in real election offices during elections for the last 2 years. We've spent hundreds of hours of time as appointed poll monitors, poll watchers, and we have an understanding of how many of these rules actually impact live elections. And I just want to say about this emergency rule proposal that you have, that we fully endorse it. We believe it is really needed because what we've seen is the Secretary of State and the State Election Board promulgate rules this last year that they put them under the emergency category when they were not indeed emergencies that imperiled the health and safety of the community. What they did is they made these rules to evade the General Assembly's review. And then they continued to make the rules and renew them without the General Assembly seeing them as has been intended for a long time in the statutes. So I just want to say that we have seen what happens when rules get made in this kind of fashion, and we think that there need to be more checks and balances, just as you are proposing in this bill, and we fully endorse it. So thank you for bringing this. While I'm on, may I go ahead and comment on your other two bills, or do you want me to wait?
No, that'd be fine if you have a comment or two.
Okay, all right. We would endorse the idea of the more checks and balances being put into the the State Election Board by having the Secretary of State become an ex officio member, a non-voting member. And that is really because the Georgia,
I'm sorry, go ahead, Ms. Marks.
because the Georgia Secretary of State has such unbelievable power, more so than any other state that we are aware of. And so the checks and balances here is a good idea. And then your next bill on temporary control of county boards. We are very concerned that, in fact, more checks and balances need to be added here. Therefore, we would suggest more restraint be put into that bill by requiring judicial review before the State Election Board can take temporary control of the county board. We would suggest that it needs to go to Superior Court judge, preferably away from the home county that is being the target of the potential takeover. We're just worried, based on our experience, that the State Election Board could easily abuse their power in an arbitrary and capricious manner. So we would urge that more controls be put in before the state board could take this kind of drastic action. And thank you very much for allowing me to comment. And of course, I'm happy to take any question.
Anybody have a question for Ms. Marks?
House Bill 493.
The
last one you talked about?
Yes, ma'am. What number are you? 3? 2.
Yes, thank you. Ms. Marsh, when you suggested for judicial review and suggested the Superior Court judge, that in using that avenue would take much longer than normally to get an answer. So you're adding probably weeks to this. There's something called the administrative law judge. I don't know if that would apply in this area, but they work with state agencies and might be more responsive. In other words, I think there's not a simple explanation for judicial review, and we probably need to be advised on what's the best avenue for judicial review.
And thank you.
Yeah, please, if you'd like to answer, Ms. Marks.
Oh, yes, thank you. Thank you so much. Yes, in fact, we do think it would add weeks to the process, and that is more or less the goal, is to make sure that a real superior court judge, and preferably done the same way as an election contest is done, where a judge in the home county who so that is not the judge hearing the case, that it has that level of independence, so that the judge is not an elector in the county. And so a judge would be brought in from a neighboring district to hear the case. And indeed, our concept is that based on some of the actions that have been fairly arbitrary and capricious on the part of the state election board, could have the moderation and restraint that the judicial system would give it. And we, in fact, are recommending not going through the administrative law process, but instead going through the state's judicial system as it's constructed, with all the appeals that you could have.
Is that Chair Lady Smith, do you have anything further?
I think it's a debatable area of this bill. That's what I'm trying to point out.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Marks. You're welcome to stand by in case anything else was to come up regarding that. If there are no more questions on 491, I don't believe anybody